Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. MONERO 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Billy is here. He's fast asleep as usual. Um, Billy needs a haircut. Hopefully, his groomer will be coming soon. Um, we had Boris Johnson come out about 2 hours ago with his speech. It was very vague. I think this is going to drag on a lot longer. Uh, we're not going to go back to normal anytime soon. And that's going to make things, I think it's going to be worse for the economy. Governments are going to have to interfere even more. That's the title of my live stream. The more government interferes, the worse it will be for the economy. Am I anti-government? Yeah, I'm anti-big government. I think government should be very small. One of you said before the live stream started, now evol evolution, evolution. Very confusing name there, but he says, or she, when the UK controlled 1/3 of the planet, less than 4,000 worked for the UK government. Uh, that's true. It's strange because I was reading something today about the British Empire, and the author actually of this article, this is in the Spectator magazine. He talks about how during the Empire, there were only 2,000 civil servants in India, British civil servants running the whole of India. In Uganda in the 19th century, there were only 25 civil servants. So yeah, you're definitely correct about that. Quite a few people already here, 109, 40 thumbs up. Graham Hobbs, greeting from M64. Community, in 18 months' time, we're going to have so much more buying power. Think about that. No airline, though. People traveling will be exception rather than the rule. Maneko for president. I'm not too sure about that. Yeah, Boris Johnson noted that we'll probably in the UK impose a quarantine on air travel from outside the UK to the UK. He didn't announce it definitively tonight, but I think it will happen. That's going to kill off the airline industry. Billy's behind me. There he is. That's going to kill off the airports. There's a lot of tourism, especially in London. Not only London, but the whole of the UK. A lot of tourists come to this country. A lot of foreign students come here to not just to university, but to learn English. You get a lot of people coming for 6 months or 3 months to learn English. That's going to be out the door. And of course, travel industry has a lot of ancillary effects as well. Lord Humongous is here. Hard Rock, Luis Claudio from Brazil. How's the situation in Brazil? I think it's the same everywhere. They seem to be coordinating everything. I don't think there's anywhere to escape, unfortunately. Let's see. Almost time to get it on. I'm not sure, you know. Jacques Nicholas, do you think gold price will drop before it rises again? Well, it depends on what currency you're talking about. I think the longer term trend for the fiat currencies is lower. And why do I say that? Well, because the government and central banks they're going to have to sustain the public as much as possible because they've stopped economic activity. So most economic activity, I guess they still have to keep people, the farms open, the some factories. People still need to eat. But what they're doing is we're gonna, and you listen in the mainstream media, they are even admitting, I saw some guy called Lord Skidelsky, or here in the UK, I think he's a economist, wrote a biography about Keynes. So I assume he's a Keynesian. And he was saying himself on Bloomberg that it's going to be paid for. It has to be paid for. And he thinks inflation is the easiest way to do it. Taxation will be one of the ways, but there's always a limit to taxation. So you can bet that fiat currencies are going to keep getting debased. And as for my title, about governments interfering, yeah, the more governments interfere with the free market, the worse things get. And I think not everyone, but I think a lot of people don't realize that all the help they're getting, the furlough scheme and unemployment, in the UK now, more than 50% of adults get support from the government. That doesn't come from the government. That comes from themselves, from us. So we can't keep going like this. Greg Hunter, Jim Sinclair interview, 50,000 gold, purchasing power. Well, that would be very good. Thank you for the super chat, full of hope. I've been following Jim Sinclair since around 2002, his blog, and he's been right about a lot of things, and I think he'll be right about this. But we need to be patient. The hardest thing about having precious metals, gold and silver, is holding on to them, making sure that you have an income for yourself and your family, that you don't have to get rid of it. It will do the job of maintaining your purchasing power of your savings, and it will even make it not just maintain the power, but give you even more power, I think. And I think Jim Sinclair is right. And he's talking about 2 to 5 years. So we're not that far from that scenario. Girl OG, nice to see you. Abbott Century, have you noticed how Wales and Scotland are making their own laws relating to the lockdown? I read that Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, they're not too happy about the new guidelines from Boris Johnson. I have seen that. Mary, did you send off for your lordship? No, I haven't, Lord Humongous. It's just a joke, really. I'm not going to do that. Jim Diggs, I like that Mario not only answers super chats, but we peoned. Well, yeah, I mean, this is what it's about. If people want to give me a super chat, it's very generous, but this is not what I'm here for, even though it helps, of course. I'll try to read most of the questions because I'm getting a lot more viewers, of course. Lord Humongous, the COMEX and LBMA spot price is total rubbish, as Mary would say. Yeah, and Bellin P has made some good videos this weekend about that. He's also made a video about the Fed's balance sheet and how the U.S. Treasury now has about $1.3 trillion in its New York Fed account. And when that's a Federal Reserve notes, that's real money. When they decide to spend that, you could see the purchasing power of your dollars go down very quickly. When are they going to spend that money? Well, I would say they're going to spend it before November 3rd. Why November 3rd? Well, because there's an election and the president has control of the Treasury, and he probably will want to help his chances in November. Kareem, 2020, do you think hyperinflation will start after lockdown? I think we're already seeing prices rise. And Full of Hope, who gave me the super chat, talked about Jim Sinclair. He said that 50,000 gold, we'd see 50,000 gold, I think by 2025, or he sees 3,500 in the next 2 years, but he said that what he sees is the prices of luxury, a lot of things like cars and houses, they're gonna go down. You're not going to be able to sell them. There's going to be very little demand. But the price of things that we need, like shelter, well, rent, let's say, and food, transportation, all those things are going to go up. Hyperinflation, yeah, that's the loss of confidence in the currency. That could happen overnight. Um, and I think they have the powers that be. They've been fooling the public about inflation the last 11 years or even more. We all know, the general public, that things just keep going up. You could buy a lot more for 20 pounds or $20 20 years ago than you can now. So I think we're much closer to a hyperinflation than people expect. I saw that even a former economist for JP Morgan, and he wrote an anonymous article, it was on Zero Hedge. He's predicting hyperinflation. Does it mean we're going to be right? No, but either way, they're going to have to inflate the money supply to make these huge debts. They're creating the huge fiscal spending. That's the other thing Jim Sinclair said. The fiscal spending is going to flow into the real economy, and with the economies in kind of 50% capacity, you're going to have still a lot of money. That's going to that's the simple law of supply and demand. That's going to cause the money to lose value and the price of goods to go up. So let me just have a sip of water. Lord Humongous sees deflation. Well, you could have deflation and hyperinflation at the same time. Deflation in that people have no jobs, companies go bankrupt, but at the same time, the value of the money evaporates. That's the worst thing that could happen. Could the dollar become the world currency? No, no. The dollar's already been the world currency since after World War II. I think, as Jim Sinclair said, you will have multi-currencies, but you will have gold will come back and will be at the center of the monetary system. It will have to. I think the powers that be in the West will try to come up with something else, like an SDR backed by fiat, and then people are going to realize it's no good, and then gold is going to have to come back. So yeah, they will probably try something else first, and the dollar will still be top dog, but I think it won't last that long. Yes, ab century, we're going to get hyperinflation, stagflation as well. Girl Audrey has 1 kilo of gold and 60 kilos of silver debt free. Yeah, that's good. Well done, Girl Audrey from Norway. I see that in Norway, you guys are playing golf already, which is nice. I don't think we're still waiting to find out what the status is for playing golf here. We're not too sure. Doesn't look too good, though. Not that, I like golf, but it's not the most important thing in the world, but it would be nice. It just seems weird that I can go walk, and I've been doing it almost every day, like 5 times a week. I go to the park and I walk around the park for over an hour. So that's exercise. And I went yesterday and there's loads of people in the park. And on the golf course that I play, it's never that many people. So I don't see why you shouldn't be able to do that. But that's how it is. Thank you, Tom Taylor, for your super chat. I appreciate it. Gold stimulus, Pablo. Yeah, gold stimulus would be to inflate the gold price, inflate the money supply. And I think that's what they're doing. Gold is, historically for thousands of years, it's always been the way to balance the system. And as Jim Sinclair said, it will be again. It won't be anything else. Bitcoin, of course, I think will do well. I know Bitcoin has dropped quite a bit since yesterday. We've dropped from 10,000 to below 9,000. Yeah, Bitcoin is not a stable store of value, but there's a limited supply of Bitcoin. So with unlimited fiat creation, Bitcoin should do well. But gold will still be, I think, the weapon that will need to be used to get confidence back in the monetary system. We Jim Diggs says we get to play golf, but no carts. Well, I think that's really great because I hate golf carts. That's one thing I don't like about playing golf in the States is having to use a golf cart. I think it defeats the purpose of the game. So actually, that's good news. Actually, I know there are people who are elderly and can't move as well. I think that could be an exception for them. You don't have to have two people in the cart, just one. But for younger people like us, I don't see why we shouldn't walk. Having a Bitcoin, yeah, that's coming up soon. That's been, I think, priced into the market. It's been talked about for so long. Anonymous, how do carts defeat the purpose of the game? Well, because it's supposed to be you're supposed to walk in golf, not drive a cart. It's like playing baseball sitting down. You don't do that. You have to stand up and run. I think the reason why in the States is such a big thing is that the golf resorts, the golf courses, they make more money from the golf carts. So the golf courses have been designed in the last 20, 30 years to make money from people riding in the carts, and they think they can speed up play with the golf carts, but it's actually the opposite. Because if you're playing with someone and you hit your drive to the left and someone hits it to the right, you got to keep going back and forth. So, good riddance to golf carts, I would say. DMC, what is the best way to protect existing fiat savings in a safe, diversified way, or all gold and silver eggs? Yeah, I mean, I don't see any other way than gold and silver. Uh, that they are, liquid monetary option. There are, of course, other options that are not as liquid, like land, antiques, fine wine, um, diamonds. But those you need to make sure that you don't have to sell them right away. Gold and silver give you an option that they safeguard your purchasing power, and at the same time, they're the most. I mean, gold and silver are one of the most marketable or liquid commodities or anything in the world. Really, you can get the local fiat currency with those anywhere in the world. Lily Robin, there is no date for the lockdown. Boris Johnson was very vague. They've got like a scale now that one is that there's no more virus, and five is like a crisis. And he said we're at number four. So yeah, it all doesn't look very good. He said that people that can't work from home should go to work, but only if they don't have to take public transportation. So it's very vague. I think it's going to be in steps. So I think they finally going to put nails in the coffin of the UK economy. It's not going to get better, unfortunately. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the US. It's more difficult in the US because there's the different states. But for example, I've seen stories here in the FT. They already came out 4 hours ago, and it says new virus outbreaks hamper efforts to reopen global economy. Now they're saying that there's new outbreaks in South Korea, Germany, and China. So that's the situation. SAC Media, are you still pursuing gold? If so, would you recommend sovereigns? Yeah, yeah. If I do have extra fiat at the end of the month, I am looking to add on to gold and silver. Sovereigns, coin of the realm in the UK, they're good. Jim Sinclair talked about confiscation. He doesn't think if you have coins of the realm, be it, I know the US is not a realm, but it's just a matter of speech. If you have US gold coins, he doesn't think it's going to be confiscated. He thinks the governments might nationalize the mines, but not coins and bars. So in the UK, sovereign and Britannias are coins of the realm. Ben Gray watched Amazing Polly. Yeah, she does a good job. Amazing Polly. She does a lot of research. She's a good detective. Christmas lockdown, DMC says. Sovereigns are, well, all gold is tax free. I think what you mean is capital gains tax free. So if you bought £100,000 worth of Krugerrands and the price of gold doubled, and you sold it for 200,000, you'd have to declare capital gains tax on that. But if it was sovereigns, you wouldn't have to. Silver, of course, you pay VAT in the UK to buy silver, but there's no capital gains on silver either. Gur Oji says they're going after children now. Here in Norway, suddenly over 20 children testing positive. Christine Lagarde is talking about so-called second wave. Yeah, I think if you watch Polly, Amazing Polly, her latest video, uh, they're almost like predicting it. She plays a clip of Dr. Fauci in 2016 or 17, saying that there will definitely be a surprise. And he says a surprise. Definitely will be a surprise pandemic in the next 4 years. I mean, they're hiding in plain sight, these people. The can, why is junk silver taxable but not silver bullion? In the UK, it's the other way around. Junk silver, by that you mean old silver coins that used to circulate as money. There's no VAT here for those, but bullion coins and bars, there is 20% VAT. No is Amazing Polly single. I'd like a date if she can keep up. Well, you should ma- write a comment on her channel. Pablo Pina, where did you buy the fine wine? It was on a website. It's from the UK company called NemoWine.com. Nemo, like the fish, Nemo Wine. Polly's channel is Amazing Polly. That's the YouTube channel, Amazing Polly. Do you see a stock market crash in the UK? Well, the FTSE was at 7,000 in the year 2000. We're now, I don't know where we are, around 5,000 something. So yeah, it's going to continue to go lower. We have rebounded off the lows, but no, I don't see, you know, and so in the year 2000, it's a 7,000 FTSE almost. At the time, the price of gold was £180 an ounce, and now we're almost at 1,400, and it's going to get worse. Uh, They're going to punish the small businesses here in this country. It's going to be not only here, but everywhere around the world. So I don't see investing in the FTSE as a good thing. And the FTSE depends a lot on the oil market, also mining. So yeah, the mining might help the FTSE a little bit, but yeah, I'm not positive on the stock market, especially seeing that these lockdowns are not going to be over anytime soon. And when they started in March, we thought, wow, we're going to have a few weeks of lockdown, then we go back to normal. But now they're just dragging it on, and they're imposing more and more conditions. And and I think they're going to find excuses to keep locking us back down and keep. And I don't know what their end game is. So things are very uncertain, and I think the only two certain things that we have is that they're going to keep government spending high. They're going to keep printing money. The central banks are going to have to monetize all this debt because no one's working and paying tax. Very few people are working and paying tax. So what's that going to do to the value of our fiat currencies? They're going to go down. And that's why I keep banging on about gold and silver. You need to have that to protect yourself. Cash is not safe. It's not safe at all. Abacentry, yeah, that could be one of the things. Starve us to submission, but also make us accept things that we would never normally not accept. The loss of our civil liberties, the loss of freedom of movement, all these things. The keeping us apart from other people. And I think unfortunately they're doing a great job because I read today that Sky News made a poll, and 75% of the public in the UK don't want the lockdown to end. I mean, they've done a great job there in convincing people they need to be locked up. Robert Hollyoak. Oh, thank you, Robert. Yeah, depopulation biometric social reward. Yeah, we're going to become like China. I mean, in this amazing Polly video, she talks about how the guy who is the head of the Chinese CDC is working together with all the Western people, with Bill Gates and everyone else. It's amazing. So China is the blueprint. Trump protects stock market because of retirees' funds. Yeah, I'm not sure how long that's going to be sustainable for. Daniel Gaskin says channels like this will be eventually be banned. I hope not, but I mean, I do upload my videos on Steemit, DTube, BitChute, and also Library now. So they're all there. So I mean, YouTube is a good platform, except for the censoring they're doing. I think it's wrong because it's just a platform. Uh, it's the analogy would be if you use your telephone and you're talking to someone about something, and the telephone company doesn't like what you're talking about and they cut you off. Yeah, this should be a public forum. They should not censor people. I think that's wrong. Bo Pony on Greg Hunter predicted gold and silver prices going much higher due to super cycle in the fall of 2020. North NAK Northern is it Northern Dynasty? Yeah, they're based in Alaska. They're supposed to have one of the biggest gold deposits, up over 30% last week from a very low level, of course. But yeah, it's an interesting speculative mining stock, NAC. Water Shambles likes the speed up of YouTube. The thing is that YouTube is, I mean, compared to all the other platforms, I still have a lot more viewers and subscribers here. It might change. Who knows? I guess you have to keep your options open. Uh, the thing about uploading the video in other platforms, it just takes a little longer to do I do my videos, I edit them, and then I publish it on YouTube, and then I have to do it on the other platforms, and it takes a little longer, but it's not really hard work. It just takes a little bit of time. Jackie Saunders, alien chat. I've heard of that theory that and even Ronald Reagan, I think, talked about something like that that would unify all nations. That's a possibility. I mean, I wouldn't buy it. I'm sure a lot of people would buy it. A lot of the people that are buying what's going on now would buy that as well. So it's not out of the question. What do I think about Schiff's view on Bitcoin? I think he hasn't looked into Bitcoin closely, because if he had, he wouldn't say it would be going to zero. So yeah, I don't. I think he's mistaken there. Dollar swap lines. Yeah, they're just the Federal Reserve bailing out other central banks and other currencies. That's all it is, at the U.S. taxpayers' expense. Why is that? Well, because they're creating more dollars to do that, and that dilutes the value of the dollar in your pocket. We saw, the non-farm payroll number on Friday. The big headline was the increase in the unemployment rate to 14.7, but not many people noted that average hourly earnings actually went up. Instead of zero point 0.4 on the month, it went up 4.7 from the previous month. So we're getting already the rising prices, and it's showing in the wages. I'm not saying wages are inflationary, because they're not. Printing money and credit out of thin air is inflationary, and it results in higher wages. Jet Quail Sint from Down Under. It's Monday down under, I guess. uh, do you believe that there is loads of gold hidden in the Grand Canyon? No, I don't. I don't believe Big's weird story. Uh, what I've heard about that story is that in 1912, there's a mining company that tried to explore the Grand Canyon before I think it was made into a national park. And I think there was some study done that there was quite a bit of gold, but it was not economical to mine it, so they just dropped the project. So that's what this speculation is based on. Yeah, the monetary speculation is definitely still going to the Wall Street and the paper assets, but now it's definitely going to go into the fiscal part, and that's what's going to create the inflation from stagflation. It's going to be a lot like the 70s, and if they don't watch out, we could go into hyperinflation. Uh, Full of Hope says she loves library. Yeah, I've been posting for the last couple weeks there. Uh, I think I'm not sure how many subscribers now. It's slow though. People need to find out, but I'm posting there. Gold in Scotland. Yeah, I think there is a mining company in Scotland, and then I think uh, if gold with the gold price going higher, some places where people don't know that they're like some places that you usually don't equate with gold mining could become gold mining places because projects become more, you know, they become economical. Lord Humongous, he pans gold out of the rivers all the time. I did that a few years ago in Wales. This weekend, I was cleaning out our shed, spring cleaning, needed to clean it. And my Garrett penner was in there. My Garrett Gravity penner. It's nice, nice one, green one. I did find a little bit of gold in the river in North Wales a few years ago. It was hard work though, a few little flakes. Uh, I think it's here. Yeah, it's here. I don't know if you guys can see it there. That's from 4 or 5 hours of work. I think what's going on here? I just couldn't see the chat there for a while. While the silver market is still being affected by the the manufacturing side of its value, but I think it will pick up. Its monetary qualities will show soon. Silver had a good week last week relative to gold, I would say. Which platform pays you most? Definitely YouTube. Definitely YouTube. I mean, at one point a few years ago, Steam it was doing well because the Steam price was high, but the Steam price is very low right now. I mean, it used to be at one point 2, 3, or $4, but now it's less than 20 cents. I definitely get more views, more subscribers, and more income from YouTube still. I could go on a lot about a lot of the things I've read and done research on about the people who run the world and all the so-called conspiracy theories, but I think that would just not help the channel, and I think we need to inform people about the monetary system because if you can remain fiscally independent, you can at least fight these people. So that's the way I look at it. And the reason why I go on about gold and money is not because I love money for the sake of it. I think it's because it helps people be independent. And I think people need to wake up about it. That's the way I see it. And if they're going to pay me to do that, why not? But yeah, I'd love to just talk about everything without being censored. But I have to make a choice. And I think there's plenty of channels out there like Amazing Polly and others like High Impact Vlogs or Flicks. I recommend him as well, Brian. Mike Korn from Sacramento. Hi, Mike. Well, I think I would try to split buying gold and silver. I think both are okay. I wouldn't worry too much about the silver premium. I think it's just a reflection of the real physical price. So, but it depends. It depends. I've been trying to buy a little more silver lately. There's some people keep coming up here and screwing up with the with my chat. I just had to withdraw, take him off. This expect us or something. There's definitely something going on. Some kind of trolls. Silver cutlery. Well, you got to make sure that it's real silver. A lot of the cutlery, they say it's silver, but it's only silver plated. So you got to really make sure. You have to look at the hallmark to make sure it's silver, solid silver. Um, I would pay off all debt if I could, Tony. Yeah, because right now we're seeing how bad it is to have debt or to be even a lender at this juncture with all the shutdown. So yeah, I would try to get rid of debt as quickly as possible and then start getting into the precious metals. Of course, you could start buying silver, which is cheaper, but you can even buy gold cheaply now because you can buy a gram. There's carat bars. There's Glint, which I have a referral code for. You can buy as little as 1 cent of gold. So you could do a start like that. Credit cards. I, I mean, the only time I use my credit card is every few years when I get a letter from the credit card company and says, if you don't use it again, we're gonna, cancel your card. So I'll buy something and pay it the next day. And the reason why I keep it sometimes for convenience, if you travel abroad, even though we're not traveling that much, sometimes it's good to book your flights with a credit card because if flights are canceled, a lot of times the credit cards will pay you. They insure you for that. But that's the only way, the only time I use it. Yeah, the good thing with Glint is you can, you can buy, you can store and save gold, and you can spend it if you need it. So my referral code is Mario Glint 79. Yeah. So if you open an account, if you put that referral, it will help them keep track of who's bringing them business. Yeah, I went gold panning about 8 years ago in Wales, North Wales, and I found this guy on the internet who's a amateur gold panner, and he took me to a private farmer he knew, and we were in the river for about 4 hours penning for gold. It's hard work, and as I said, I only got a little few flakes of gold, as you can see. I'd like to do it again. I've got my Garrett pen. Yeah, 90% silver coins, 1964 and before should be good. Pre 65, really, because 1964 is still 90%. What is the average amount of silver and gold of what people told you they own? Well, it all depends on the individual. It's just like asking, how much do people save? Because that's how you should look at gold and silver. So it's all relative. Raw gold nuggets. Uh, I've got I've got one I bought years ago on eBay, and I think it was from Australia. They're nice. I mean, the only thing about it is that you're not too sure about the purity. Where is it? Well, I can't find mine right now, but I bought one from on eBay. The only problem is you're not really sure about the assay, the purity of the gold. But I bought like a little piece of nugget on eBay. I think it was at the time it was not more than 50 pounds. I mean, I weighed it the other day and it's worth more than 150 now if it's gold. And I think it is. You need to make sure you check the if you do it on eBay that they have a good track record. Number of ounces. I don't know. Number of ounces. It depends, as I said. Number of ounces. I think that's what you're asking. How many ounces should people have? I mean, someone who doesn't have any money can't have any ounces. Someone who's got millions can, it depends. You get to Buckingham Palace, the reptiles will eat you. Platinum, don't follow platinum too closely. It is a precious metals, but it's not really a monetary one. It's an industrial one. So its price will be different. Really, the price moves from gold and silver. Silver, of course, is a hybrid. Stackers measured their wealth in ounces or grams as well, or tons if you had loads of it. SK, as I said, SK, it's up to you. I would only keep enough cash to pay my monthly bills. Forecast for home prices. That's a good question, actually, because I wanted to talk about that and I've forgotten. I've been reading a lot here in the UK, especially. That's where I am. Uh, Nobody really knows where house prices are going to be. And nobody really knows when things are going to get back to normal. So there are ranges of -3% for this year to -30%. Some people are saying that house prices outside London, in the country, in small villages and towns, are going to do well because people are going to want to get away from the big city. So very uncertain. Rumpelstiltskin in Japan, the land of the rising sun. Uh, Ohio. Good morning. Yeah, Abacentry. I think they lifted it here in the UK from 30 to 45 pounds on the 1st of April. I remember it started out as 20 pounds, I think. Gold and silver miners, junior gold. I think Jim Sinclair's company, Tanzanian Royalty Corporation, could be an interesting one. Yeah, Tanzanian Royalty Corporation. I think it's is it TRX on the New York? I'm not sure what the ticker is. NAC, Northern Dynasties. I would look up the prospectus of like Sprott Asset Management, or look at the GDX, the components of the HUY. That's what I would do to look for companies. Robert Hollyoak, Warwickshire countryside. Yeah, that sounds good. Warwickshire. Invested in art? Not really. Not really. Even though my wife and my daughter are good artists, a lot of the paintings and drawings we have in the house from my wife actually when she was younger. Um, we do have some antiques as well, furniture, but not really big into art. Ratio for gold and silver, as I've always said, it's up to the individual. Um, up to the individual. S- uh, you know, uh, I've got more ounces. You can have more ounces of silver than gold, but the gold that you have might be a lot more valuable in terms of fiat. But it's up to the individual. There's no set rule. Yeah, Benny B, you need to decide what you prefer. The best thing to do is to start buy a gold coin or a silver coin and see what you prefer. Yeah, I think we will get a banking crisis if we have a housing crisis. But I think they're gonna print so much money to keep the banks going, and that's why we're gonna have the currencies are gonna go down the drain. Did you see the War on Gold? Is that a movie or a book? What do you mean, Peter, by the War on Gold? I've got a book called Gold Wars by what's his name? The Swiss guy. But I don't know what you mean by that. Did you see the War on Gold? Universal basic income. It's possible, even in the U.S. I think I was reading that the Democrats want another 2 trillion in fiscal spending, and one of their proposals is to have $2,000 basic income every time they have to lock down the economy, which will probably make it permanent. Probably the same thing might happen here in the UK. I'm not so sure. Yeah, the national debt. I don't know if you guys saw in the US. That's just gone over 25 trillion. I think the deficit is going to be 4 trillion this year. Do you think we will see the debt fiat deficit devaluation monetary theory fraud destroyed? I think only it will destroy itself. So, yeah, it will destroy itself. It will, and that's a good thing. Hopefully, they'll do it very quickly. That's why you can't keep your savings in that rubbish. That's why you need to be in outside the paper system. You can buy whatever you want as long as it's tangible and holds its value. I would stick to gold and silver. People can go buy platinum and other things, or lands or art. Businesses right now are difficult, I would say, to start a business, especially with all the restrictions we have and not knowing when things are going to be clear. I've been fortunate with with this channel when I started end of 2015, and yeah, if for example, if I had gotten back to this to working in the city, because after I closed my business down in 2014, I tried to get back to going to the city, uh, maybe it was a good thing I didn't get back to the city and I started doing these videos and my channel, because if I didn't, right now I would be sitting at home doing nothing. So in a way, I was fortunate for that. So it's kind of my own little business, which I can keep going for now. Yeah, that's right, William. He calculated. I mean, in 1980, the price of gold equated to 135% of the Fed's uh, liabilities or balance sheet. So it even went over 100%. I guess he was talking about the debt, but now he's saying that level is more like 50,000 to 87,000. So I wouldn't. I wouldn't doubt him. I would listen to that guy. Time frame for hyperinflation. I mean, that's always a difficult question, but I think we are on the road to hyperinflation. And if it does happen, you can't prepare for it. It happens overnight, very quickly once it starts. But it's not certain. But I think the probabilities are high. And even if you don't get hyperinflation, we're definitely going to get a 1970s style, I think, stagflation. Water shambles? No, I don't think that's a crazy idea. I mean, everything we still buy now, you look at it, they're still made in China, and that's a big problem as well. I think it's going to be very hard for us to get back to normal. Especially, there seems to be a lot of animosity between the U.S. and China. So yeah, that's the other worry. The supply chain. I think uh, at least here in the UK, they're making it very hard for the supply chain, because they're keeping these lockdown conditions very strict, and it's going to be for another month. It's going to be almost 3 months. This is crazy, I think, and not sure how it will pan out in the states. In the US, it's different because different states have different. You know, they have more autonomy than the regions here in the UK. Robert, stimulus checks. I think what they will do is they probably, the problem with the stimulus checks is that people are going to expect more and more stimulus, because things are not going to get better, and then that could people are going to realize, people who are actually still working and producing and earning some money, they're going to realize, here I am making earning money through effort, and there's like more than 50% of the population getting what I get for doing work for doing nothing. And when people realize that, I think that's, people's thoughts, mentality about money are going to change. It's difficult to say when that's going to happen, but I think we're on the way to that. How do we finance prosperity and progress? uh, I think through the small government, a government that really just enforces the rule of law. And what does that mean? Well, the right of the individual to life, liberty, and property. And then you leave society alone, and let people, produce and use, what kind of money they want. That's the way, I think, to the way to prosperity. But nowadays, things are so screwed up. Most people think that the government creates prosperity, and that's really sad. And that's why we have these huge budget deficits, huge national debt. It's the Keynesian mentality that individuals are not good enough to run their lives, that they have to have government tax them and run their lives for them. So, yeah. Hi, Padenda Johnson. Nice to see you here. Uh, Another question about hyperinflation. I don't know when we can expect hyperinflation. When people get fed up with, what they're doing, and see that people are getting money for doing nothing, and while they who still can work and produce are getting even less, they're going to realize, this money is worthless. Um, Difficult to say, but I think we're very close to it. I can't predict time. I can predict the trend, and I can look at what happened in the past. In Weimar Germany, the reason there was hyperinflation is because after World War One, Germany had loads of debt. They had all the they imposed all the debt. After World War One, they were the losers. France punished them. Reparations, right? Debt and reparations, and they decided to print the money out of thin air to pay for all of that. And it didn't happen overnight, but it took, from when they started printing the money and borrowing the money in 1915, it took 8 years until the German mark, or the Reichsmark, collapsed. So it takes time, but the thing is, once it starts, it's a matter of months. It's really amazing, hyperinflation. All right, I'll take a couple more questions. We've gone over the 1 hour mark. You're welcome, Unspoken Scott. Yeah, the French really punished the Germans. Uh, I think, if they hadn't, maybe the world would be very different today. A statement from the BOE. Is that tonight? I haven't seen. I don't know. I don't know if it was tonight, or do you mean from the meeting this week? Can you see a way to have money without corruption? Well, I think the general public has to be. It depends on the people. If the people are corrupt, they're gonna elect corrupt politicians. It all depends on the individual. If we have a country that is enlightened and not corrupt in general, if we have an elite and also a big middle class that believes in sound money, you'll get sound money. If you don't, you won't. Canada dollar forecast lower versus gold. That's an easy one. David Blanchflower, he used to be in the BOE, I think. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm going to call it a night. I wish you all a great rest of the week, a great Monday in Japan and Australia, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.